Rip Reckful? Wait, what happened to Reckful? No, there's no way. There's no way. I don't.
No, I don't think so.
There's no way. He tweeted 2 hours ago?
Yeah, he just tweeted like 2 hours ago. So, I don't know. Like,
I can't even believe it. Like, what the fuck? Oh my god. Check Reckful's Twitter. Posted somebody 3 hours ago today. I mean, that does, like, here's the thing, is like everything like that, it makes sense. Like, that's the worst part about it, is it makes sense, right? I saw that tweet, I looked at a few of the replies, and it's like we were just talking about that. And I saw some of the replies, and people were like memeing on him. And that's the first thing I said, is like fucking manic depressive. Like, it's not. I mean,
so you think he just proposed, then he just proposed and then said
he proposed,
said that, and then
people ridiculed him, and they made him feel stupid and insane, and he killed himself. That's what I think happened, if he did do it. I think that's what it was. This was like just the last fucking straw. Like, and maybe she said no. I don't know what she said. But I don't know, like, maybe she's still asleep. Like, I have no idea what she said to him. Something he placed to blame on people who responded to the tweet, which is actually absolutely dumb to do. Well, okay, so if you know somebody's manic depressive, and you're ridiculing them constantly, and calling them stupid and weird and crazy, I think, yeah, like, a person, like, I think that's, it's not their fault. Like, they didn't make him do it. But it's like kind of, there's like a sea of troubles and there are drops in the ocean. Like, that's what I mean, is that, like, it doesn't mean that they caused it, but they made it worse. It just builds up. And now everybody's tweeting about it. Jesus Christ. I'm deciding what I want to say. Like, I usually have like a train of thought for these kinds of things, but I don't. I almost don't want to say anything because everything is just so unknown, but I feel like I should.
I mean, don't say anything because you feel like you should.
Well, you know what I mean. Like, I feel like an obligation to. I don't know if that makes sense. It's not like I should because, like, oh, this is what I'm expected to do. Like, it's what I think I should say. You see what I mean?
No,
no,
he just tweeted
Blue's Twitter account isn't hacked, and Byron's roommate has confirmed it. This is true. Fuck everything about this year.
Why?
Something wrong with him, man. Like it wasn't, like, it very clearly, like, I mean, he had been to multiple psychiatrists. He had been diagnosed with, like, mental disorders before. I don't know why. I mean, we can't really know why. But I think that it's not a coincidence. Yeah, his brother also committed suicide. Yeah, I remember that. I mean, I don't know how hereditary these kinds of things are. I have no idea. And so I don't know, like, if that's like a coincidence. It's like a genetic thing. I have no idea, man. It reminds me a lot of the Etika thing. And like Etika like never really affected me because like I never knew Etika. It was like kind of disappointing. I'd seen like a couple of his videos and he seemed like a really cool guy. I liked him. He's very, very energetic, etc. And you know, but this I met Reckful. I remember I met Reckful at 2017 BlizzCon, and I remember we were sitting on like the right side of the Hilton Hotel, and it's on his fucking YouTube channel, and like we were talking about WoW and like how many days we had played WoW, and I don't know, like it's, you don't see the depression, you only see the dead in the end. Everybody saw the depression. Everybody knew that Reckful was depressed. There's nobody that was fucking like, oh wow, I wonder what's wrong with Reckful. I wonder why Reckful's acting this way. It's fucking obvious. Like everybody fucking knew it. Like there's no guesswork or thinking or anything like that. And I hope that people realize that it might seem like it doesn't really matter because it's the internet. But whenever you've like kind of developed and based and, you know, invested your entire life into something, and like being somebody on the internet or being a public figure or anything like that, and especially whenever you know that you're kind of fucked up in the first place, and you just have like thousands of people that are constantly ridiculing you and making fun of you and trying to get under your skin and figure out a way to kind of like make you crack or whatever, this is what happens. And I see this happen all the time on Twitter, and it's the same thing with like these like Twitter mobs that go after people that Twitter just for some reason has literally no care about at all. Like I don't know how many people are gonna have to commit suicide before people realize that this is not something that's good. And the problem with it is that there's not going to be any solution or resolution to this because people are shit. The community will never self-regulate. They'll only find different justifications. It's on the platform to make sure this shit doesn't happen. And no one forces you to use Twitter though. You're right. But no one forces you to bully and harass and attack someone who's a manic depressive either. So I feel like that's kind of like a it's like a net zero there. Byron, you deserve better. Life's not fair. You're at times the best person to spend time with. You deserve so much better than this. You're always a legend. We'll never die, rip. The thing with this is like Reckful, I mean, you have to remember, like, Reckful's been in the community for almost longer than anybody else has. Like, I don't even really remember a time where Reckful wasn't prominent in the community. And especially from, you know, from WoW, and then also, like, he went on to Twitch. He was one of the first big Twitch streamers. And, like, he was the one who, I mean, like, a lot of stream...
He changed the game.
Well, he changed WoW, like he changed streaming. Like there are hundreds of streamers out there nowadays that I mean, I'm sure somebody would have thought of it too, but like many of them back then were able to make a living on Twitch because of Reckful, indirectly, because Reckful pioneered the idea of donating and then having, you know, your message pop up. This is like, and you think about like how little that is, but how big it is for all the people who do it. And with WoW, I mean, Reckful was the first player to ever hit 3K rating. He was an innovator in the game. He was one of the first people to really make the kind of like videos that he did. And to see that happen to somebody, and especially like the way that the weird thing about it, and this is like what's really I think the saddest thing about it, is like if you ever saw Reckful and you ever met him, he was probably a really, really happy, nice guy. And like, I mean, obviously everybody has like rough moments, but for the most part, like he was a really happy and nice guy. And whenever I met him, I felt that way. Whenever, you know, like I'd watch some of his streams, I remember the stream that he did with Raynad, making the lemonade stand. It's disappointing to see something like this happen, especially to like a public figure like this, because the first thing that I think of whenever this happens to somebody is I think of all the videos that I've seen with them where they were happy and full of life. You know, where they were doing something with other people and they were together and everything seemed like it was perfect. You know, the times where everything was beautiful and nothing hurt. And you have like those moments and you think back on that. And I guess the one silver lining with that is those moments will always be alive. We'll never forget those. And I think if this is supposed to show anything or give anybody the idea, is that it doesn't matter like how much money you have, it doesn't matter how successful you are, it doesn't matter anything. If there's something that's not right inside of you, if there's something that's not that's incomplete, something that's malfunctioning, it's not always an issue of just suck it up or like, okay, well, just, you know, fucking man up or anything like that. Oftentimes there's like chemical imbalances in your brain. It's kind of like if you have a headache or whatever, you don't just man up and make the headache go away. You take a painkiller and you make it go away. Or you have, you know, like a disease. You take like a vaccine, or, you know, you go through treatment or take antibiotics. Like you don't, it's not, like obviously like there are times where, you know, there is like, yeah, like it is important to have like a certain sense of like self-worth and self-confidence and like have that internal thing. But there's also plenty of other fucking times where it's not. And I think the worst part about social media nowadays is that people think that they get to decide whichever one is which. And people go and they pretend like, I don't know why people pretend like mental disorders aren't real. I think that's stupid and weird, and it doesn't make any sense to me. It never really has, to be honest. I don't know if it's insecurity of the people that are just trying to, because it is a scary thing, and I want to make sure this is very clear. The idea that something can just go wrong in your brain, and like a person, you can never really be sure of anything, you know. You can never really have or like have full control and ownership of anything except for what is inside your own mind. And to think that that can be corrupted and you can lose parts of that is terrifying for a lot of people. It's just kind of the same paradigm as Alzheimer's in a way. And I think that there are a lot of people who they take these opportunities to see a person like that and they're just in denial. And I don't blame them for being in denial, because it is terrifying. It's extremely terrifying. There's nothing else that it is besides terrifying. And I hope this like really gives people a better perspective on like how their behavior affects other people. I remember whenever Etika, you know, that happened last year, and I would go to like his last like 4 or 5 tweets, and it was just people that were memeing on him, looking for, you know, retweet karma, looking for likes on their Twitter post. And we've turned social media into this cannibalistic machine that allows people to consume each other. And this is what the outcome is. People, the thing is that a lot of times you see a lot of these people and they are they're exposed to social media for a very long period of time. And even for me, like, I consider myself to have a pretty strong self-image and have a pretty thick skin for the most part, right? There are things that bother me, but I'm talking about for the most part. And it just doesn't matter. Like, if at a certain point, I talked to Asmongold about this, and Asmongold actually gave me the best analogy for this that I've ever heard. He said that basically, like, if you go and you do dead mines, and you're level 60, and you've got full gear, you can still die in dead mines. It doesn't matter if there's, like, all these little level 30s or level 22s attacking you. As time goes on, you'll lose health, even if they're level 20 and you're level fucking 60 with full max gear, and you'll die. It'll break you down. The worst thing about this is that I don't know what to do about it.
There's nothing you can do.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Like, that's obviously, you're right. I mean, you're right. There's nothing I can really do about it, and I think that's the worst part about it with, like, suicide, for example, is there's no way that you can really stop somebody from feeling like they have to do this. Suicide hotlines? I think suicide hotlines are great, but Reckful talk to other therapists and other people like that too. Like, it's not a silver bullet. You know what I mean? It doesn't just solve the problem. I think it's very good to have that, but like the entire, like, all of the changes in themselves, like, have to be it has to be systemic. And it's a start. It is a start. And it's noble work what they do. I don't think that the human mind is really designed or is programmed to be able to process all of the feedback and information that, like, you get on social media in the same way. I think also one of the most insidious things about social media is the fact that it's in text form and the way that people process it. So whenever you're reading all of these comments, especially from Reckful or something like that, and you see the people that are responding back and calling him crazy and weird and stupid, etc. Social media, you read that message in your own mind and your own voice, and you internalize what's said. It's not another person saying it to you, it's your own self saying it to yourself. Even though you're reading it from somebody else, it's still in your own voice and being processed and delivered to you through your own mind and not externally. And I think that's one of the big reasons why it's so damaging and why it's so insidious and subversive, is that you have these instances where people get to reading all of this bad stuff about themselves, and they start to believe it. I think that's really what it is. They just start to believe it. I'm gonna donate every dollar that I make today for into a suicide prevention charity. I'll look at the end of it and see how much money I make, and I'm gonna donate all of it today. And I think that's the right thing to do. Very disappointed. It's just, I hope the community realizes how much of an impact this makes. So, like, if you look at a person like that and they invest their emotional energy and they invest everything in their life to being this person online and investing so much into it and doing so much about it, etc. And they do that, and I think of a way to put this, and then people ridicule them, and they see that all kind of crashing down in front of them. People think they're stupid. They're constantly getting trolled on Twitter, etc. It does something to you, and it just breaks you down. And I think that's really what it is. And it doesn't happen, like, here's the weird thing about it, is, like, as somebody who's dealt with this for, I don't know, how long have I been on the internet? Like, I mean, since 2006, and I've been making content online since 2008, whenever I just barely turned 18. And, like, obviously, like, seriously, I started when I was, like, 23 or 24. But it's like, yeah, it's a vicious cycle, right? Where people have like these really negative emotions, they're super unhappy, etc. And in the process of doing that, they inflict their unhappiness and their sadness onto somebody else. And then in the process, it's just kind of a vicious circle of then another person goes and they say the same thing to somebody else. And then it's just like this cycle of negativity and deferred sadness, basically. And, you know, as time goes on, hurt people. Yeah, I mean, that's really kind of what it is. And it's like, I don't know how to... That's what I was saying before about how it's like, how do you even solve that problem? Like, what do you even do? I don't even know. Like, that's what's so weird about it is like... Because, like, you can tell people not to do that, and it just happens anyway. And it's like, how do you... You can't make it against the rules to say that somebody's dumb on the internet, right? I mean, people are always going to find a way to inflict their unhappiness on other people. And so, how do you make it better? How do you change it? How do you, I don't know. The thing is, like, I'd watch Reckful pretty regularly back in the day, and it was such a weird thing because, like, I never really watched Twitch. I just knew where Reckful was, and I would just go and watch Reckful. Remember one time we played against his rogue? Reckful was fucking, like, this was in Cataclysm, man. And we queued up against them. And this was like the rank 1 team at the time. And fucking Reckful was using Thunder Fury. He was using Thunder Fury, and this is in fucking Cataclysm. And we fucking lost. Like, we fucking lost. And like, I was thinking to myself, like, man, this cocky son of a bitch is gonna fucking do this. Like, I was so upset about it, man. I beat him one time in arena, and I screenshotted it. And I told him. And it's like, you know why I screenshotted it? Because it was that fucking impressive that I ever won an arena against Reckful. Like, I felt that good about it. Because I knew how good of a player he was. These pieces of shit. These terrible fucking people that spend their entire life projecting their own negativity and unhappiness onto other people on social media, and in their whole life have spent the last fucking 10 years doing this. And over 10 years, it's led to multiple suicides, people fucking hating their lives, hating themselves, hating everything about themselves. For what? For nothing. I go and I read some people's Twitters, and I see what the fuck they say. And every single fucking comment they make is negative shit towards another person. You are a piece of fucking shit if you do that. You are a terrible person. There is no excuse for it. The fact that you had a bad day doesn't mean that you get to go and make somebody else have a bad day. If you can't get a girlfriend, don't go on the internet and call other girls whores. If you don't have money, don't go on the internet and say some person like Reckful who has money isn't allowed to have any problems because he doesn't have the same problems that you do. All of these people that go constantly trying to create some fucking purity test for who's allowed to have problems and who's not, it needs to stop. And the worst thing about it is that we did this to ourselves. There's no fucking, there's no Illuminati that's making us do this. This is human nature, and we can be better than that. Human nature is also to rape and kill people, and we fucking cut that down by a lot. And we can do the same thing with this too. So don't go and fucking tell me that, oh, there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. The first thing to do about it is to hold individuals accountable on an individual basis. Because the issue with this is that whenever somebody says something bad, and then they have a bunch of other people laughing at them and creating a positive reward structure around this other person's sadness and ridiculement, that is not acceptable. And each individual person that likes these tweets, that retweets them, that fucking laughs at them, that thinks that it's funny, every single one of you is just as guilty as the person doing it. Because by doing that, you create a reward structure and a reward schedule that makes those people feel good about making other people feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it fundamentally comes down to. Nobody ever wants to hear somebody else's side of things. They only want to hear what they've already decided to be the truth. They don't care about how people feel about situations. They don't care about hearing their side of it. They don't care about any of this. The only thing that they care about is how it's going to affect them and how they can push their preconceived notion of what the world is like onto other people. They're not interested in learning. They're not interested in growing. They're not interested in being a better person. And if anything, they're interested in making the world worse. This is no fucking joke. You've seen it last year with Etika. You see it this year with Reckful. Who the fuck is it going to be next year? Think about that. Think of all your favorite creators. Think of all of them that have taken mental health breaks from streaming. What happens whenever one of them takes a dive? Because it'll happen. Like, don't get me wrong. This is not going to be the last time that it happens.
Nope.
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 And it will continue fucking happening until we as a community hold individuals who reward and proliferate negative, toxic, and mean content for no fucking reason, who do this and they think that they're doing the right thing. People think that, oh wow, well, this person said this one thing 5 years ago, and so fuck them. I get to harass them for the rest of their life because of my judgment on what they did years ago. No. Fucking no. Here's what you can do. Every single time that you see somebody in chat who promotes toxic or negative behavior, tell them to fuck off. Just tell them to fuck off. Like, weird champ them, whatever you want to do to make them fuck off. Because every single person in here, you are not responsible for the actions of other people. And I want this to be very clear. You are not responsible for the actions of other people. But that doesn't mean that whenever the time comes, you can't take priority and take initiative and do something to make things better. Wow. Is this on every server?
There's one on, it's on Faralina too.
On Classic?
Yeah.
Give me a second. Let me take an invite from Bajira. Holy shit, this is Moonguard right here. Wow. Holy shit, man. This is fucking beautiful. Oh my god. I really think the WoW community is one of the best communities online. I mean, it does have... Every rose has its thorns. But the WoW community, I do feel, is genuine in a lot of ways. Bajira says to me, he says, like, yeah, man, it's a sad day, but it's good to remember that there's a lot of love out here, too. I think that's really true. It is. Like, I know that for me, like, you see that, and, like, you see, like, how much overwhelming support, you know, people like this get. And I hope that really, like, people, when this is going to change, is the time that people get this level of support Obviously, this is like a unique thing, right? But like to a degree, they get this level of support before they do it. They get this support and they get this positive reinforcement before it happens. And that's really when things are going to change. Look at this, man.